let's move on now to the Cleveland Browns in our training camp series preview, where we're going to break down why the top 2 training camp stories to watch is going to be how Deshaun Watson forms his relationship with Elijah Moore and the rest of the receiving crew in his first full season with the Cleveland Browns, and also watching the defensive line and can they take the Cleveland Browns to an AFC North championship with their free agency additions. But before we get into why those are the top 2 stories, if you have not already, hit the subscribe button and also ring the bell to get notified when we create new content. Ryan and I, we're doing a training camp preview for all 32 teams, and we have a bunch of other series coming out before the start of the season, as well as we are going to be coming out with weekly prediction videos of every single NFL game, including all the Browns games. So if you want to get notified of our predictions, be sure to ring the bell and hit that subscribe button to get notified. And Ryan, let's get into it here. The Cleveland Browns, I think, made a great move in the offseason before the draft, and that was to trade for Elijah Moore. Essentially, we knew that they needed receivers, and they just used their second-round pick to go get a receiver. And then they actually even got another one instead of Tillman in the draft as well. Yeah. So, but getting Elijah Moore, I think, was a great pick. He was unhappy in New York. Don't think he was being fully utilized. I wonder if he would want to be there now that Aaron Rodgers is there. I'm curious about that. Probably not. I mean, having Deshaun Watson, Deshaun Watson can be the Watson that we know, like saw him, before the past couple of years happened, then I think that he's going to be a great fit for the type of style that Deshaun Watson likes to play. But then also just then on top of that too, how Deshaun Watson continues his relationship with Amari Cooper, who is one of the more underrated receivers in the league. I think that he can be – I will definitely be targeting him on all of my fantasy teams for sure, because I think he's under the radar with all the opportunity that he's going to have. And DPJ as well keeps improving. So I think it's going to be fun to watch how this receiving trio works. Also see if maybe David Bell can kind of overcome maybe like a lackluster rookie season and maybe not be overshadowed by the other guys. Because now with Deshaun Watson getting all the first-team reps, knowing that like he's going to be the guy, it's just going to be interesting to see how they all gel together and how this passing game can take them to the next level. Because we know what Nick Chubb's going to do in the backfield.
Yeah, no, definitely. And to me, I think obviously this offense is going to revolve around Nick Chubb in that running game and kind of getting everything going. But then can Deshaun Watson regain that form when he was considered one of the top quarterbacks in the league when he was in Houston? And all these guys are going to need Deshaun Watson to play at a high level. And realistically, Deshaun Watson has no excuse to not play at a high level. Browns invested in this offensive line. They've invested in Deshaun Watson's weapons. And then I also think if you look at on the defensive side of the ball, which we'll get to a little bit later, this team is good all around. Yeah. And so all the pressure is on Deshaun Watson. We should get a pretty good look, I think, in training camp, how well he's gelling with all of his wide receivers. And I do think like he will do pretty well. I mean, this wide receiver group is one of the best in the league, I think, when you break it down. So
yeah, and that's why it's crucial too, like with the Elijah Moore trade, is how are they going to gel together and how's he going to fit into this offense? I think that as of right now, according to our last, they have him as the slot receiver, which that's what I would put him as. And I mean, if you have your X and your Y, Amari Cooper and DPJ on the outside, Elijah Moore, I think can create a lot of havoc for defense coordinators, because I think he is much quicker than many linebackers, and he is a mismatch to a lot of nickels. So it's fun to watch to see how that relationship develops. But and as you said earlier, like on paper, like top to bottom, like they have a really good roster. And I think that even with the additions that they made on the defensive side of the ball as well, signing Dalvin Tomlinson and also signing Zadarius Smith, trading for Zadarius Smith from the Minnesota Vikings, I think this defensive line got significantly better. And that's where I think the heart of everything starts for this defense. Running through Myles Garrett, but he needed a running mate on the other side of him. Mm-hmm. And I think that they have that now. Dalvin Tomlinson is getting up there a little bit in age. That being said, I think he still got some gas in the tank, and I think it provided a lot of pressure for a lot of pressure on the offensive line, freeing up Myles Garrett even more.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that was last year. They just didn't have anybody else. And Myles Garrett, he had that car accident and he was still wreaking havoc on offensive lines, but he was playing injured throughout the entire year. And so getting him some help, I think, is going to be be really nice. They also drafted Siaki Ika. He's a really big defensive tackle, but has some pretty solid athleticism. And so I like the moves that they've made in this defense. And then I think you couple a stronger defensive line with Denzel Ward and then Greg Newsome the second as well. And that's a really solid secondary. So I think they also brought over Juan Thornhill, I believe, from Kansas City. I have it. He's on the roster.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, and they signed him this offseason. I just couldn't tell if it was this offseason or last offseason. So even then too, then drafting Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah as well. It just, as you said, top to bottom, this entire roster is solid. You know, even they have one of the better offensive lines in the league, and so just in the trenches, they're doing well and improving. It's just going to be did they find all the right pieces, and then also can Kevin Stefanski put those pieces together.
That was the last thing that I was going to say was like, not only is there going to be a lot of pressure on Deshaun Watson in this offense and Myles Garrett in this defense to perform, it's also on Kevin Stefanski. I mean, there were some definite coaching blunders that we saw last year that they, I mean, clearly could have either at least been more competitive or won games.
Yeah.
And Kevin Stefanski just botched it, right? So I think his job's on the line this year. This whole Deshaun Watson trade project, whatever that is on the line. So,
well, if it doesn't work this year, and if it shows that it's not going to work, I bet that they blow it up again. Like they maybe try and trade it. Well, I guess they can't trade him, but they'll figure something out because next year they also don't have a first-round pick as well. So those are the top stories to me. I mean, there's a bunch of other tiny stories as well, like it's just who's going to be making the team. But the main ones to watch to me are going to be those two.
Yeah, no, definitely. Those are the big ones. I'm really curious to see in camp kind of what this offense looks like, what relationships Deshaun Watson has formed already and is building upon. Another one that I'm like, we kind of mentioned this, but the defensive line, how are they going to line up? Who's lined up next to Myles Garrett? Just some of those things to kind of keep an eye on. So I think it's going to be an exciting offseason for the Browns. They have a lot of hope going into 2023, as they should. And so I'm looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, but let's go ahead and wrap up the Browns training camp preview there. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe and leave a comment down below on what you think of the Brownies going into 2023. You think they're going to be contending for a playoff spot? You think they're Super Bowl contenders? Let us know down below. And other than that, we'll see you guys next time.